Hi everyone, greetings. It's Karen from Redbird Quilt Co. and Karen's Quilts, Crows and Cardinals blog. I'm here just for a little clip to show you how in a video, how I actually prepared my Loose Balloons growth chart for our quilt along for basting, for pin basting. And I've already done most of the work, but I did want to show you just a few things. I've got some still pictures on the blog. Be sure to go over and reference all the information that I've laid out on the blog for you. But what I did was I cut my piece of backing at least an inch and a half to 2 inches larger all the way around from the size of the actual growth chart. So you can see here that the growth chart itself is much smaller than how the size of the batting. One of the reasons that I do that is because when you're quilting along and you get to quilting these borders, you're going to want something to hold on to. So it's nice to have some extra batting and extra backing to hold on to as you're going to do your quilting. That's one reason why you should make it a little bit larger. The second reason being that sometimes things shift as you're quilting, and just like whether you're a long arm quilter or a domestic machine quilter, you're going to want to make sure that when you get to the edge of this border and you're stitching along and things have kind of shifted as you went a little bit, that you have enough batting when you're done and enough backing. You never want to get to the edge of your quilt and find out, oops, I cut myself a little too short. So go ahead and be frivolous and use extra batting and backing, at least a couple of inches, an inch and a half to 2 inches all the way around. And that'll save you in the end. So give that a try. So let me get to some of the basics. And again, I've outlined this in still pictures on the blog and lots of text. But I use the 3M blue painter's tape. There's a still picture on the blog. You can see it here. And I don't do a long strip because that can get a little unruly at times. So I use little tiny pieces, maybe what, 2 inches or so, an inch. Look at this one's much smaller. I start on one side of the quilt backing, of course, with your right sides down. Of course, you lay your backing down on the table, and you tape just one side. Tape one long side down. Then I go to the other side of that same piece of backing and I do the same steps over there, but as I do it, I pull the backing so it's slightly taut. I don't want to stretch it, but I do want to get rid of all the tiny little ripples that are in it. You don't want any ripples. So I go one side and then I go around to the other side and I kind of smooth it out, pull it taut in, and do a little bit more taping. So I do taping all the way down the second side, as we discussed, and then I go to the top and the bottom and I do a similar action. I basically just go ahead, pull the fabric so that it's slightly taut but not stretched, and go ahead and put a few pieces of blue tape. And I use this 3M blue tape because I pin on a dining room table at the cottage, and it easily comes up, you see, without pulling the finish up. Now you're going to want to test your tape. If you're doing this on a tabletop, make sure that the tape you're using does not pull your finish up, unless you don't care. You can see I've done a lot of work on this tabletop. I don't worry about it too much. It's kind of a work in progress. So get your backing down, get it taped, secured on all four sides. The key thing being to pull it taut, but don't stretch it. Don't stretch it out of proportion. All right. Make sure that if you have a print that has a directional print, that the print is going in the same direction that your quilt top is going, unless you want it upside down. But consider that when you're laying it down. All right. And then I take my batting, and again, I've cut my batting about the same size as the backing, roughly. And so I take my batting one at a time. In this case, I've used 2 layers of batting. I have a layer of cotton, and I take the cotton, I lay it on top of the back, and I just smooth it out all the way around through the whole area. And I just smooth it out. You smooth from the center outward all the way around. You want to smooth from the center out all the way around, just to make sure that any little ripple or tuck or fold, you're not going to get every little crease out. It's impossible. Don't worry about that. They won't cause any problem. But just go ahead and one layer of batting at a time, lay it down, smooth it out, make sure it's flat, add your next layer of batting. And my next layer of batting is actually wool. Go ahead, lay it down, smooth it out. you also want to make sure that you get rid of any nasty little dark color. If you're quilting a light quilt like we are with loose balloons, you're going to want to make sure any little dark things, any lint, any thread pieces, dog hair, anything that you have, cat hair, you want to make sure that those are gone, because sometimes in the light colored back quilt tops, those will actually show through. So that, and I've also looked at the back of my quilt top, and I've made sure that my pressing is all completed. I made sure that there's no stray threads, especially with that little black border that we have. I've removed all those little stray threads. Make sure that they're tucked in, because again, they can show through the quilting, and you know, it's just something small, but it helps in the end to make sure that you're happy and you love the way that your piece came out. All right, so once we have the backing securely taped, we layer the batting, 1-2 layers, whatever we're using. In this case, I'm using a layer of cotton and a layer of wool. They're Quilter's Dream battings. I love them. I've been using them now for maybe a year and a half, 2 years, I don't know. But I love them. They have great variety. It's an American company, but I just love the quality of the batting, especially the wool. So you've got the backing, 2 layers of batting, and now your quilt top. You're going to just lay your quilt top down, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to smooth it out, all right, all the way around. Smooth from the center out. Got it smoothed out. And once you have that done, once you've completed those steps, don't worry about all these, you know, creases that may be with the fabric from the way it was shipped, the way it was prepared, the way it was folded. Don't worry about those. They're all going to come out when we quilt. So that's it. When you do that, you've got your quilt top, your batting, your backing, and it's all ready to go. So in the next little video clip, I'm going to talk about what I do to pin baste, and so stay tuned for that. We'll get to that right away. Be sure to refer back to the blog post that I wrote, because that'll point you to all the little video clips that I've done that talk about this part 2 of the Loose Balloons quilt along, and you'll be able to get through all the little lessons that we have prepared for you. Thanks so much. Again, it's Karen from Redbird Quilt Co. and Karen's Quilts, Crows, and Cardinals blog. Signing off for now. See you soon.